Hello, hello. How are you? It's been a while. It's been a whole 7 days. So, if you've never been over here before, hi, I'm Lola, and you have come across the little podcast that I started to help anyone who's going through any sort of spiritual awakening or just people who've been in the space. It's called Our Soul's Journey Podcast, and I adore this place. I'm the creator and the host, and if you've already been in this space before and you're back, hey, I'm so glad you're here. And I have a great episode for you today that I think, regardless of if you're new or you've been here already, you are going to love. To get a little background on me, I've been in the spiritual space for around 10 years now, coming up close on 10 years. And I've seen many sides of this space, like many, many sides. I'm a tarot reader. I've done that for a while. I'm an empath, been that way my whole life. And I'm really someone who, over the past few years, has started to intentionally create a more soul-led life for myself. And frankly, my life's only gotten better in that time. Not to say there haven't been hard moments, of course there has, but I feel so much like I'm living so much more in my authentic self. And for that, yay, that's exactly what I want to feel like. So, like I mentioned, the show's purpose is to help you with your spiritual journey, no matter what it looks like, what it is for you, because let me tell you something. Everyone's spiritual journey is unique to them. And the more you choose to accept that into your life and stop trying to put yourself in a box in your spiritual journey, the more everything will grow. The more everything will grow. There's a bug outside my window. It looked like a little like dragonfly, but it wasn't a dragonfly. So hi. If you've never been over here before, definitely go ahead, like, subscribe, share the video. This little corner of the internet is growing, but we will not grow if we don't share. Share it with who you feel called to share it with. That's the best rule of thumb to go by. So, welcome. A little bit about my last week. Obviously, I am in running jacket. And so, one thing that I've neglected a lot myself is just going to the gym. Out of nothing, but I just didn't make it a priority, and I'm good. Like, everything's fine. I'm healthy. Mentioned it maybe in the last couple of videos, at least one of them, that I was like, I'm gonna start going to the gym. And you know what your girl did? Miss Lola went to the gym. Miss Lola's gone to the gym a few times, and I've just been doing cardio. I'm doing a little bit of jogging and then a lot of walking because I don't have an hour to spend in the gym anymore, which breaks my heart. I miss strength training so much, but cardio is what I need to focus on. I just need to get my heart rate up. I literally do so much like mentally, like all of my challenges and workload is more of a mental challenge. Like I'm not a blue collar worker in any way whatsoever. The my place of work is a very small building, so it's not like I'm running around in it. And I pretty much am a creature of habit. So I go outside once in a while. Haven't been lately. Spirit's been telling me go ground outside, and it is becoming a lot more nicer out in Texas. So, of course, I have to go enjoy the sun. So that's what's on the to-do list in the coming weeks. And that's why I'm wearing this jacket. I'm finally working out again. It's so good for me. My sleep is so much better now because my body just needs to like move. That's what we got for my past week. Tell me what you did last week. Tell me, did my did the podcast help with any new spiritual revelation or spiritual growth, or what did we do last week? Did we do anything fun? Did we do something for ourselves? I want to know. I'm your biggest cheerleader, and I would love to know. Let's start with the episode, guys. Like let's do this thing. So, to start off, I had no clue what I was going to do for the episode today. I was literally in my car this morning listening to another podcast. I'd literally never listened to them before, and it just resonated so hard. But the topic that they were talking about was being an old soul. And when I first started the podcast, Our Soul's Journey, I was a big planner. I'm still a huge planner. I still, man, if I live without my calendar for a week, honestly, I can handle it. Do I like it? No. I like being organized in my time and organized in everything I do and being prepared. But as I've done more and more episodes for everyone over here, the more I realize that I just draw from inspiration in my life. It's not necessarily a procrastination thing. It's more of a, I'll know when the moment hits. And the moment hit this morning, and it reminded me of something I really just want to give perspective on. The podcast I was listening to this morning, I'd never listened to before. I'd never seen this person. I'd never heard of this person either. So it just popped up when I was at the gym. So I literally started listening to it when I was at the gym today. And I started listening and I finished my workout, listened to it in the car, and listened to it on the way home, finished the episode, and I was like, oh my God, I was in love with it. So great episode for me. But I knew in the first half of the episode, actually, once I got out to my car, I was like, oh my God, I need to talk about this. Like, this is what I'm going to talk about on my podcast. And this is what I'm going to talk about on the podcast. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's not the same subject that this person was talking about. It's inspired by it. And it's the am I an old soul? Am I a new soul label? Humans as intelligent creatures will put labels on themselves to help identify and make them feel like they have a community so we can fit in with people. Oh, I'm a prepared person. That means I am more likely to get along and have a community with people who are more organized and more prepared. Oh, I'm a type B personality. All of my community is going to be around people who are type B. These are who I click with the most. It's just so much bigger than that. When I first got into the community, it wasn't as big. It was still kind of had that early 2000s vibe a little bit, and that's the best way to put it, where it was like, oh, you're a new soul, or oh, you're an old soul. And that was that. There weren't any more labels except you're probably wise beyond your years and your energy is a bit different. And that was that. And it was mostly like that when I was first starting out in the space, but it had been touched on, except that there was a lot more depth to each uh, label, so to say. And I'm not going to get too much into the labels. You can do the Googling and the reading and the listening on your own to figure out which one you are. I want to tell you it doesn't matter. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't want to feel any sort of significance from that label, or it shouldn't make you heal some sort of wound because maybe you're an old soul in a family of new souls. Instead of seeking another label for yourself to put yourself in a community that may understand you, hold your head high and just live. A lot of the podcast episodes I do involved involve just living, just experiencing life, just living the human experience. And I'm not against figuring out if you're an old soul or a new soul. I've been called an old soul for all of my life. I actually was at a point where I was like in denial about it, and I'm like, I'm a new soul, I'm a new soul. And there were a couple points where I was like, I started to use that label as an identity, which is something I want to say don't do. Do something because it's a part of your values. Don't do something because of a label. And a lot of self-development and human physical self-development. We'll take a step out of the spiritual woo-woo space for a second. We'll go into the human self-development. When we seek to change ourselves or to just develop ourselves, a lot of times, a lot of humans, without thinking about it, will start changing and making decisions based off the identity they want for themselves. But that is not sustainable long term. Your true motivation and your true desire to change in human self development will come from your values, from what's meaningful to you, or discipline, or all three. But putting a label on yourself in this human self development is not sustainable long term. You're either going to burn out, you won't stick with it, you'll beat yourself up for not sticking with it. And it's kind of, if you keep doing it over and over, it creates a pattern and it's not good. It's harmful to yourself because you're just constantly disappointing yourself, but you're just not setting yourself up for success because your motivation to become a new person shouldn't be being a new person. It should be because this is going to fulfill my passions, or this is going to help me get to where I want to be in the next level. And when we come over here and we step into the woo-woo space, it sort of does something similar. Where if you start labeling yourself as an old soul and you start acting on things and making decisions uh, because you're an old soul, well, that can get out of hand kind of fast, right? You may become arrogant. You may choose to not listen to others. You may choose to not be a student in the life you're in. And everyone's going to experience doing that, I'm sure, whether intentional or unintentional in this life, whether you're sticking the old soul label on you or not. Frankly, if I'm being honest, there's nothing wrong with being either. We're all here and we're all able to be students of our lives that on this earth. But as soon as we start sticking labels of I'm an old soul or I'm a new soul on ourselves and making decisions based off of that, that can lead to lack of learning. Be your soul. Be your soul, be yourself. And just to clarify, the podcast I listened to, she was not at all like going on and on about how she was limited by her soul and the kind of soul she was, or any of that. Like, it was just, it gave me a little inspo, and this is the inspo. And then also, the more you label yourself as an old soul or new soul and start to categorize what actions and opinions and thoughts and feelings that kind of soul has, the more it's going to be ingrained into your subconscious. And the way our subconscious works is it runs a lot of our day to day behind the scenes, uh, and we don't think about it. Our subconscious takes in everything in our day to day. And the more you tell yourself that you can't do this, or you should be doing that, or whatever, the more it's going to stick into your subconscious, and you're going to have to eventually push it away. Instead of looking for a label in terms of the kind of soul you are, why don't you go and experience life and see how you want to live it? I know it's kind of vague, but any sort of label, especially in the spiritual community, should be looked more at like a guide, like a little tool in our back pocket to point us in the right direction. It's not something you need to stick to because that's what's going to make you feel better. Remember that in the spiritual space, there's a lot of magic and things that we don't always get to explain, and things that we don't always understand or able to explain, but we know it, like our intuition. I wanted to make this episode today. The biggest reason I don't think you should run to label yourself and live by that label, especially as an old soul or a new soul, is because that can hinder the fuck out of your growth. Like, I'm so serious when I say the more you put yourself in a box, the smaller that box is going to get. I'm an old soul, I'm a new soul, and you're going to hit walls trying to live your life because the more and more you choose to go around your label, the less and less you're going to be able to experience and do and feel and learn. Learning is the key one here. And you'll still learn even when you're in your little box of your label, right? But just existing is the one of the best teachers you could have. Like really, another thing to note is when you're in your label box, your little old soul, new soul box, you will begin to attract things in life because of your label, because that will become your identity. And it's not that you aren't supposed to have those, it's just that you have much more freedom without that label. Like you could literally attract anything, but maybe it funneled through your little energy field and now it's something that maybe you really, really want, but because of your label and your human ego, you're like, no, 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 I'm an old soul. I don't want this. Like that is not conducive to learning, okay? And look, this is just kind of my message to you is just don't be so quick to live by an identity and a label in the spiritual community. Live by your values and your intuition and love. And I know it's cheesy, the love part especially, but it's true. There's nothing more powerful in this world than the energy of love. And I mean that with all of my heart. Like that is the biggest, biggest piece of energy. So a little bit of a scattered podcast today. I kind of wanted to break down the subconscious and the identity part of it so that way we could really dive into that spiritual growth and transformation just a bit with a bit more context. So I am so glad you're here today. Thank you for coming. This podcast is growing. And without you, it's not going to grow. I think we need more grounded spiritual content creators out there on the internet. And I'm so happy that you're allowing me to be one. And if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and share it on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, TikTok. I think we still have that. I don't know. I don't like TikTok. I don't like a lot of short form content, but I have my moments. I have my moments. YouTube. And if you're like me, kind of off the grid social media wise, share it in your messages. But my overall advice, share it with who you feel called to share it with. And if you're that person that had this shared with them, congratulations. You're on the receiving side of intuition. What's it feel like? Happy Valentine's Day, guys. I hope you have a wonderful week. And until next time, I'm sending you so much love. I believe in you. You are so fucking strong. Bye, guys.